That's not my outfit.
It's Death by Monsters.
Bad lonely Colorado.
Welcome, everyone, you haughty horses, to Death by Monsters.
Ooh.
A podcast about monsters, mysteries, and the unknown. Matthew, did you have an opening that you wanted to say? Because I just stole your thunder.
I was going to call everyone a pesky pack of puffins.
A pesky pack of puffins? Oh, that's better than haughty horses. I'm making a reference to something later in the episode.
What is a group of puffins called? Looking it up online.
No idea. Yes, this is Death by Monsters, a show about monsters, mysteries, and the unknown. I'm joined, as always, as you already... Paula's already... Hi, Paula.
Hi, I'm Paula Deming. That's Matthew Jude. I don't know if he's going to say his name because he thinks you should know him already and he doesn't need to introduce himself.
That's not the reason. I'm so humble. And Nick Murphy.
Okay, so a group of puffins is known by a range of names. It can either be called a colony of puffins, a circus of puffins, which is fun,
I like circus.
a burrow of puffins, but I really like a puffinry of puffins.
I like it.
A puffinry of puffins.
Indeed.
I like all aquatic birds. I'm a big fan of penguins, as you know, but I do like a puffin.
Puffins and penguins are not that different. I'm sorry to pop all these peas, Mr. Podcast Editor.
But puffins fly.
Well, you know, it's fine. And it wouldn't be an episode of Death by Monsters without our favourite co-host, Zadok Bell from Beyond the Grave.
Yes. Thank you for being here, Zadok.
I will eat your brains.
I just want to talk to Jarl about something that happened to me this week, because you've already done a weird entrance, so I'm going to carry that on. So, just need to tell you very quickly.
I mean,
know we got.
You could call it weird, or you could call it the best intro we've had to date.
Interesting.
That's all right. I didn't write one. Anyway, so
You weren't starting, so I started.
I was getting into character.
I almost just spit my coffee everywhere, so that's good. Hey, tell us your story.
So I was doing some work actually on this episode the other day, and I have a niece. So downstairs in the house where I live, there are children's toys, and there's this one toy which is a little drum. You bang on the drum, it kind of makes it goes dun 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 dun. It's like just a little song thing, right? Mm-hmm. And that went off when I was writing the script downstairs, and I looked up and thought, nope, not going to check on that. That's not happening. And then it just kept on happening. And I went downstairs.
And no one was down there?
No one was in the house.
What?
And I went downstairs and I looked at it and it went off again. And I thought, nothing is more terrifying than a nursery rhyme from the ether. It was horrendous. And so I took the batteries out. And then I thought, if that goes off
again, you're really...
If that went off again, Paula, I would have burnt this house down.
That makes sense. That's the only option you have.
The fire releases the evil spirit, so do not burn that house down. Just leave the house.
Yeah, does it make it stronger? That's the question.
Because it's like the fires of hell.
Yeah, maybe you got to throw something weird on it, like RC Cola sponsors.
Was it just like shorting out?
There was just something wrong with it, but it just scared. It didn't scare me. I was like, oh no,
It did though. It did scare you. You can admit it.
No, can't. But I was like, oh, this is terrible. I don't like this at all. It was horrible. So that's my week. That's the most interesting thing that's happened to me all week.
I love that. I still haven't had anything weird happen. I want something weird to happen. The Becks haven't showed up. I have loitered in dark parking lots and nothing's happened. I just want something to happen.
I mean, anything?
Anything. Someone bring me Taco Bell. I don't know. I'll take whatever.
Oh my gosh. I totally ate Taco Bell after the last time we recorded.
As you should have. New sponsors.
So this week, I'm taking you on a trip. And good God, you better fasten yourselves in, because this mystery train is bound for Denver Airport.
Woo woo. Chugga 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 chugga.
Good trains, Paula.
Nick appreciated my train sounds, and Matthew was just ignoring them like they didn't happen.
Like what didn't happen?
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Denver Airport. When you first told me, there's this weird stuff with Denver Airport, I was like, what? I had never heard that Denver Airport had anything other than a bunch of layovers, because everybody stops in the middle. That's the middle of the country. So, but I was, blown away. And then, so there's a whole thing at Denver Airport.
I have never been in the Denver airport.
Not even as a layover?
But I'm usually flying like up to Canada or down to Florida. So Denver isn't really on the way.
Yeah, I hear that.
I've been to Denver once. I spent about 2 weeks there, and I really, really like Denver. It's such a nice place.
I almost moved there instead of LA.
Really?
It's that kind of like middle part of America. It's even though it's further like west, it's very
Yeah, it really is not in the middle.
it's the midpoint, right? It's the mid city. I feel it's like east west kind of culture kind of mixes. It's in there. I love it.
Welcome to the Mile High Airport.
That's exactly what it says. It's like when you land in Nashville and it's just a string of country singers going "Welcome to Nashville." It's great.
Checks out.
I will say now that I found a lot of my information for this week's show from the book Conspiracy Theories Beneath the Radar, the Denver International Airport, which is a very long title.
Din.
That's yeah.
By Cheryl Leonard. Kindle Unlimited would actually be legitimately a great sponsor.
Oh, yeah, because you read a lot of books for this podcast.
Yes.
Nerd. Freaking loser over here. Reading. Using his eyes to gain knowledge. What a
Using his
loser.
glasses-covered eyes.
Though I will say, if you are a rival service to Kindle Unlimited, I'm happy to say that Kindle Unlimited is a terrible service because I have no scruples.
That's right.
Scrupulous Jones, that's what they call me.
I have always called you that. I'm glad that now everyone else knows about it.
How many scruples does he have?
Just none.
Now that I realize.
Just zero. Absolutely zero scruples.
So, Denver, the city historically famous for being... I found myself going very left of field for much of the research for this. The city historically famous for being a mile high and now just famous for being really fucking high.
Yeah.
It's home to the original Chipotle.
What?
Is that
I didn't know
right?
that in Denver.
No, that's not true.
Seems like an interesting place to start a Chipotle.
It's home to the cheeseburger.
I'm sorry. They're claiming they made the very first cheeseburger in
The
Denver.
whole home? No.
I don't believe that.
Someone got an award
Yeah, I've gotten an award.
for being the first person to invent the cheeseburger. I don't think so.
You just said someone got an award. That's a pretty general statement you made. I mean, I've gotten an award. It doesn't mean I invented a cheeseburger.
They're like participation trophies. Everyone gets one. Award for cheeseburgers, you know?
I don't think I've ever got an award for anything in my entire life.
No,
That's not true.
That's definitely not true.
I'm almost positive.
You didn't even get like a freaking perfect attendance award from school.
No, that was just you, Paula, because you're lame.
Damn.
Excuse me. Well,
Shots
some of
fired.
us graduated summa cum laude, so I don't want to hear
I don't know
it.
what those words mean.
I don't know what that is.
It's Latin,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
I went to college to work in a bar full time in London.
That's right, baby.
That
People like
is
it.
most of the people I know who also went to.
Who got theater
college.
degrees? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what moving to LA really is. And it's also home to what might be. I'm just carrying on.
talking
I
about
realize
Denver
Please
we've gone-
do. Just keep going. We'll keep going if you don't.
And it's also home to what might be one of the most conspiracy-filled buildings in the United States. And that, my friends, and also Zadok, is Denver International Airport.
Thank you.
Also, Tim Allen and Dog the Bounty Hunter, but, you know.
What?
Do what you
Why
want.
are they here?
Oh, no, they're from Denver as well.
Oh,
That whole joke thing would have made sense if I'd have done it all in one breath.
But you let us interrupt you.
My timing.
The most important thing about comedy.
Tim Allen is the most important thing that's ever happened to comedy. But if you do go for a waltz around the biggest airport in America, make sure to visit Coors Brewing Company, just 35 miles down the road at Golden, Colorado. Tours operate Monday to Saturday, 10 till 4, and Sunday, noon till 4. Coors! Drink it, cowards!
Coors Banquet, the Death by Monsters unofficial sponsor.
The original unofficial sponsors.
That's right, the original.
Gosh, we have so many unofficial sponsors now.
We're about to talk about another one because I wrote some jokes. Denver International Airport for the last 25 years has been the home of more than its fair share of conspiracy theories. And while, yes, it's a weirdly massive airport with strange features, secretive financial beginnings, and more than a little off-the-wall artwork, it is also very much an airport. Which, though that sounds a bit obvious, it's really important to bear that in mind because Airports aren't known for their open doors and transparency. First, the facts, which is a sentence I bet you weren't ready for. The DIA is physically the largest airport in the US at a massive 35,000 acres.
Wait, I read. Are you about to say this?
Yes.
It's bigger than New York City?
Manhattan, specifically.
Which, to put it into context, we can all understand, is enough space to comfortably park 5.25 million Honda Accords.
Yes, context we can all relate to.
Which is something I actually worked out.
That's an immense amount of Honda Accords. That's more than they've given us for the sponsorship, and they've given us a lot of Honda Accords. Next week, we're giving away 2 Honda Accords. To enter in, send $50 to our PayPal.
That'd be great, actually, because I could buy a couple hundred Accords for about $500. It's the 18th busiest airport in the world, and while its location is 25 miles from downtown Denver, the weird part of all of it is that Denver didn't really need a new airport when it was built, as it's further away from the fully functioning Stapleton Airport, which it replaced. Its construction was delayed by 16 months and it went $2 billion over budget.
The city I came from did not need to build a new basketball stadium that no one wanted in the middle of downtown. But guess what? They did it anyway. And do you think that thing stayed on budget? Heck no.
Our city literally did the exact same thing. Basketball stadium, downtown, no one wanted it there, and it went way over budget and way over time.
To put $2 billion into a context we can all understand.
Yes.
$2 billion is enough money to buy everyone at a Denver Broncos game 5,254 beers and leave a $3 million tip.
Now, is that premium course banquet?
Good question.
Or is it like just some dirt ass PBR?
I think at the Broncos stadium they probably serve course of some description. I have to assume.
I would assume so.
There's like 75,000 people there. Everyone can have 5,254 of them.
And then they all die of alcohol poisoning.
That's the real conspiracy.
How many Honda Accords will that amount by?
I knew you were going to ask this and I didn't
Then
work
why
it out.
didn't you calculate it if you knew I would ask, Matthew? You know me.
Future Matthew might add this in. Future Matthew here. It's around, if you buy one for 750 quid, it's 2.66 million. So, if the airport isn't an airport, which it obviously is an airport, what else is it? The theories range from the secret underground bunkers for the rich and powerful to a secret FEMA concentration camp funded by the New World Order, ready for the coming apocalypse.
That's probably, that's the real one.
That's most accurate.
Global domination, that is perhaps sorry to hear, Paula. In the shadows all around us, we are doomed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
So to set the demonic stage of doom and destruction, first it's important to ask the question, why Denver Airport? Why is it that Denver Airport has a conspiracy at all?
Yeah, why?
And this can be explained. I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.
This can be explained by some with a simple and famous Masonic saying, "Stop spanking me, David. I'm just not that into it."
I think that just might be a you saying.
No, it's everyone. I say it all the time.
My dad was a Mason.
What?
For a very, very short time.
Have you said this to me before?
I think so. I think he kind of like got asked to join and then was like, I'm not into this. And just like, no, decided not against it.
Oh, so you heard your dad saying, stop spanking me, David. I'm not that into it.
Checks out.
It's the only thing I remember about my father.
And I'm glad to have treated it with this level of respect.
Yes.
But they also have another famous phrase, which is hiding in plain sight. And while I wish plain was spelt like plane, as the amount of fuel that would add to this fire is astronomical, it means that, like perhaps the dollar bill, the Masons and the New World Order get their rocks off by rubbing all our collective noses in it.
Is that what they're doing?
That's aggressive.
Yeah.
Why are the Masons always so aggressive?
I just don't.
Jeez.
It's so ridiculous. I'm sorry. This whole Denver thing is dog shit.
What? Huh? No, dog. We're not talking to you. Go deal with your bounty.
That joke works for twice, Paula. That was very good.
Thank you.
That was brilliant.
Hey, come see my indie improv show at the Clubhouse in LA. First Friday of every month, I do musical improv. Third Tuesday of every month, I do mono scenes with both teams are all women. So come on out. High quality, free comedy.
Hell yeah.
The first thing that you'll notice about Denver Airport as you fly in over the Rockies on your way perhaps to one of Denver's world-class ski resorts, or maybe you're off to enjoy the Botanical Gardens and their 4 special celebrations such as the Halloween at Glow at the Gardens or getting lost in the corn maze at Chatfield Farms. Tickets on sale now.
Getting lost in a scary Halloween maze. I mean, it doesn't start scary, but it becomes scary the longer you're lost there, and then the sun starts to set, and then it seems like the corn is moving on its own. And
Checks out.
But you may also notice that the runways at the airport really do kind of look like a swastika.
That is accurate.
they do. I did see it. They do kind of.
There are other reasons that the DIA has been singled as perhaps having things on the slightly spooky side going on. It's known that 5 huge buildings were finished and then buried, which is weird, but what makes it slightly more strange-horrific is that they were buried at all, because according to the official explanation, they were constructed incorrectly, which just doesn't happen. Poorly constructed buildings are not buried. They are torn down.
A little bit.
Also, wait, they built 5 full buildings and then they were like, oh, these weren't
Put them in the
made
hole!
right. I guess just bury them.
That does seem
Dog,
odd.
stop doing that. The building's not bones and you're a human. Go deal with your bounty.
Jeez.
Oh, that's why they call you dog. There is reportedly a massive underground facility at the airport that was perhaps to make room for the train system that connects all the terminals, but with the addition of vast expansion tunnels. Many have proposed that those tunnels, in fact, link the airports to underground military sites such as NORAD at Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado Springs of Stargate headquarters fame. Did either of you watch Stargate?
No, dude, I'm not a nerd.
No.
Well, the front of the Stargate got permission to use the actual entrance of Cheyenne Mountain Base for their exterior shots, even though
Oh, is that right?
Even though it was like X-Files, vastly shot in Canada.
Very cool.
Yeah, you know what? The X-Files, there's an episode early on. Wow, there's some... If you can, I feel like I have to address this. There is construction banging
Oh, we can hear it.
here across my house right now. So if you can hear that in the background of this podcast, y'all, sorry. There is an episode of early X-Files where Mulder is supposedly in North Carolina and he's like going up a little ski lift thing, and I'm like, absolutely not. You
Sure
you
ain't,
cannot
Mulder.
see the ocean from the mountains in North Carolina. That is 100% Vancouver.
Yeah, there's this show called The Mentalist, which like apparently takes place in Sacramento, which is where I grew up, and like the intro has like a helicopter shot of Sacramento, and that is legitimately the only thing that's ever shot there. Like it's like everything else, we're like, that's clearly in LA. That is not in Sacramento at all.
It's every away mission on Star Trek is shot in a desert just outside of LA.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Also, or like the Huntington Gardens. You're like, okay.
If you watch enough Star Trek, you start to recognize caves.
Oh my gosh, I was just about to say that. Yes. Every time we're like, oh, here's the cave again.
This is that cave that they must own.
That's one of the weirdest things about, like, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but living in LA, it's like, I was watching an episode of Parks and Rec, and I was like, oh, that's that bench right outside UCLA. And I'm like, God, that's weird that I know that. And also, I'm just like, it's just weird, like, or like, they're like, oh, that's that mall that's by my work.
Yeah.
That's weird. That kind of takes me out of this show. It's very odd when you're like, you clearly recognize places.
Or every time I drive by Larry's hot dogs or whatever on Burbank, and I'm like, if someone is in the car with me, I go, hey, have you seen that episode of The American Office where Steve Carell like gets lost and what's-her-face has to like, they try and find him, and at one point he stops and he gets a hot dog? That's where he stops.
Yep.
There is a lot made of one particular statue that stands on the way to the airport on Penna Boulevard.
Oh, we're back to Denver. That's right. Sorry.
A haughty horse statue?
Yes. Oh, very good. That was commissioned for the airport and created by Luis Jimenez to represent the old American West. This statue, however, looks pretty goddamn terrifying.
Wait, it's supposed to represent the old American West?
Yeah, it's
It does
what
not
doesn't
evoke that to me at all.
I think it does. It's giant.
a
It's
blue
terrifying.
horse.
The old American West was horrifying. There was all sorts of. It was dangerous. Everyone died at like 14. It was terrible. And this giant
That's a really
blue
good point.
30-foot horse with demonic eyes, to me, represents the horrors of the American West.
It's a massive 32-foot, 9,000 pound electric blue
Anatomically.
Say it again. Anatomically correct horse called the Blue Mustang.
Is that what it's called, Matthew? The Blue Mustang?
I'm wondering how much of the me getting words wrong I'm going to keep on leaving in these podcasts before I get very self-conscious about it. Though locals may know it by its nickname, Blucifer.
I love Blucifer. That's such a good name.
It's such a cute way to refer to the devil.
It's the best nickname for a blue demon horse that I can think of.
It is not great. But we're going to talk about art a decent amount in this. And honestly, I'm an artist. Artists are weird and they have weird interpretations of stuff. And like a lot of artists, our whole thing is like, this is the way I envision things. And so it's like, to me, it's just a big ass blue horse with weird demon eyes. It's creepy, don't get me wrong, but like, whatever. I don't know.
It's a weird thing to choose to include in your airport. Like, and not in like the modern museum or something. I don't know.
But I would say Denver is the frontier to the west.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I get that.
To me, it makes sense. Look, it does have some odd features. That it's got glowing red eyes and it's all round creepy looking.
I'm not opposed to a horse statue, but I am opposed to like a blue evil horse statue.
But again, that to me is like the artist just interpreting things in their own. They want to I don't want to just do a horse. I'm gonna make it blue and weird. And I don't know. To me, it totally makes sense. The artist would just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna make it weird looking. Because otherwise, it's just a statue of a horse. Like, whatever.
The problem is, if your statue can get the nickname the Blue Stallion of Death, but it did get that because the artist, Jimenez, before its completion, got injured by the horse. Part of it fell on him, and it actually killed him.
It did.
So many believe that it's cursed, and that it really represents the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, right? Ridden by Death himself, and acts as a hidden warning of what's to come.
Why not the first horse of the apocalypse?
Because it killed someone.
They're all death, aren't they?
No.
Death, pestilence, famine, and war.
Yeah, so the fourth one is death. The fourth horseman is death.
And it caused a death, and sometimes people die on airplanes, and people definitely die falling off of horses or being trampled by horses or just trying to make the move out into the Old West. They definitely died, so, okay.
Though it is also believed that maybe it's just a continuation of Jimenez's work, such as his statue Mestino, which is another blue horse that represents the uncultivated determination of the West. But also, maybe it's a devil horse. Who's to say?
See? So again, it's a whole series. Like, I have a lot to talk about with the art in this, but also on top of that, like, hey, he's an artist. He wants to get well known. It's like, hey, I can make a 32-foot horse. That'll be like, oh, it's a big horse. That's cool. Or I can make a big ass blue horse with weird demon eyes, and everyone's going to talk about it forever. Like, it's a way to it's a way to like keep your name.
You know where that ambition got him? 6 feet under.
Death.
He's still almost a mile high, though, so that's pretty good.
He lives in the ground and still a mile high. It's very confusing.
His father actually made neon signs, which is where the red eyes come from.
Oh, that's neat.
That is cool.
I think he got paid. I'm not 100% sure on this because I forgot to write it down. I think he got paid $100,000 to make that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, I'm guaranteeing.
I will make you any statue for $100,000.
Yeah, that happens a lot where cities will like commission these artists to make like with a ton of money, and they make something. And everyone's kind of like, you paid like $1 million for that, and they're like, yeah. We're like, okay. That's kind of what it is. So you're like, wow, you shouldn't have paid that.
Cool. I'm just going to go back down Skid Row and just hang out. So if we like talking about art, let's carry on talking about art, because the next hot oddity that you have to talk about are there some really objectively freaky murals. The main offenders are on level 5 of the Jefferson Terminal, if you really want to find them, and were created by Leo Tanguma. And while these murals are named things like peace and harmony with nature and the children of the world dream of peace, they are, it has to be said, pretty fucking terrifying.
They seem to be the opposite of peaceful to me.
I think the first two are that. I think the second two are fine.
What I'm going to do now is we're all going to be looking at these pictures and I'm going to take you through them slightly. So the first one, which I'm going to describe to you all, I'm going to describe it to you the way that it's been described to me. This is Children of the World Dream of Peace. What we have here is some kind of American-style Nazi stormtrooper holding a AK-47, I don't know, with a bayonet on it, around a worn, torn, post-apocalyptic scenario. He's stabbing a dove of peace. Around him you can see a rainbow which has turned into a thick, foggy gas which has destroyed all life around him. This painting describes what's happening. The New World Order are going to come in, they're going to kill everyone. We've got mothers weeping for their dead children all over this picture, and all you can see is that the New World Order are going to come in, kill everyone, and they're going to do it just like the Nazis before them. America is going to do the same thing.
Dark.
Okay, painting 1.
Nick, do you have any interpretations of this as the artist?
I think this, because there's 4 paintings, we're talking about the second one that this painter did, and I think you need to look at them as a series because, again, artists are weird. So let's just continue. The interpretation I think is fair. Like, it's all of those things. It's a very weird, terrifying painting, and the next one's possibly more scary.
Painting 2 also describes the end times. You've got people from all over the world weeping over dead people from different cultures, dead animals. The forests are on fire. There's nothing but pain, suffering. The world is going to end. This is the New World Order laughing in the faces of everybody that walks past them at Denver Airport. They look like they're showing you what's going to happen, and you are too stupid to even realize that the apocalypse is coming.
And Matthew, there's a penguin in a little glass case.
Makes me sad.
Does that make you feel sad?
No, it's been protected.
Oh, I thought it was like, hey, this is the last penguin that ever lived, and now it's dead, and we stuffed it and put it in this glass case so that we can look on.
That's an interpretation. Yeah. I thought it was being saved, but okay.
The third painting is the most terrifying one of all. We have the apocalyptic, destructive sun scorching the earth in front of it as all wildlife and humans flee, running to their untimely death. There is no escape. Chimneys billow with smoke as destruction rains terror. There is nothing but poisonous gas clouds in the air and frightened faces of children as they flee.
I'm sorry, are we looking at the same mural right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You forgot the pregnant cat, and you also forgot the giraffe in a hot air balloon.
But luckily they kept the library open. That's our safe haven. That's what this is trying to say. Hey, look to the books.
Yeah.
Find the codes left by the Rosicrucians. That is your salvation.
This one reminds me of kind of like Eric Carle. It's got kind of an Eric Carle-y vibe. Yeah. I like this.
Official critique references the works as social realist murals from Mexico addressing the destruction of the environment, not the whole world, with the first half of the mural showing children displaying great sadness over the destruction of the extinction of life, and the second half of the artwork depicts humanity as well coming together to rehabilitate and celebrate nature. I really feel that you can basically say anything you want about art to kind of fuel your agenda.
Yes.
It's kind of like the Bible.
In some ways, people who want to fuel that there's a giant conspiracy going on at Denver Airport say that the forests are on fire because the apocalypse is coming and we're all going to die. Whereas the artist himself says, no, that's climate change.
Yeah.
That the animals in the cases are the preserved DNA genetics of the only animals left in the world so that we can repopulate once everything is dead. Whereas the artist would say, no, it's just about preserving wildlife.
No, it's the first one, for sure.
Yeah, New World Order.
Most terrifying one, of course, is the third picture I showed you, which is by Rafael Lopez, and
it's lovely.
It's actually a mural from the Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago, inspired by the courage of children and their families. I wanted to use the vivid hues, he says, that celebrate the brightness of the future, hoping a healthy dose of colour and light will speed their healing.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to point out is that you can it's all open to interpretation, is what I would say.
Yeah. Like, these murals to me are like, it's just like, yeah, the tunnels are weird. That big ass horse is weird. These ones are not, because again, there's 4, like the painter, not including the big giant sun one that's murdering everybody. That's actually in Chicago. The other 2 by the artist, it's like there's 2 more that depict like peace and like coming together. So it's like, again, you have to like see them as a series. Like, the first 2 are like what either is happening or can happen. The other ones are like the future and stuff. And again, like, it's people just are taking these like, and my favorite part is like the artist himself is like, no, this is what I meant. And everyone's like, no, I'm going to interpret it and decide what you meant. And that,
Again, like the Bible.
yes. And as an artist, nothing pisses me off more than when someone tells me what my art is about. You don't get to decide. Like, don't get me wrong, you can interpret art however you want, but like if I say, no, this is actually what I meant, like you don't get to tell me that I'm wrong about my art.
That's fine. It could mean anything to anyone, but you aren't able to be wrong about it as the
Exactly.
artist.
Like you can't tell me that I'm wrong. Like I hate that. It pisses me off. And so when this person's like, no, this is what this represents, people are like, no, conspiracy. And I'm just like, I hate that stuff. And it's again, and on top of that, people are taking them out of context, not viewing them in a series, which is what these 4 mules are. And if you see it in a series, it's not nearly as like apocalyptic new world order ending of the whole civilization. None of that comes through. It comes like, hey, this is what's kind of happening. This is what can happen, but like we can get to here. Like it's the mural part of this pissed me off more than anything.
The art, this bit is my least favorite part of the whole conspiracy. It's what so many people concentrate on.
Yes.
I mean, I will say, I don't know how much I want to like walk into the terminal and see giant gun wielding gas mask face.
It's weird.
It's definitely weird, right? But it's not. But the story that people are putting on top of this art is just to fit the agenda that they're trying to put forward, which is that there's a Denver Airport conspiracy.
And again, I go back to Lucifer. Artists are weird.
Yeah, it reminds me of Roscoe's art, those giant red paintings he did, because he was asked to do those paintings, he's commissioned to do them for a restaurant, and everyone looks at those paintings and says, oh, they're so beautiful, they're just so profound. And he designed them literally to be the most disturbing thing you could look at while you eat.
That's really interesting.
So everyone that walks up and go, oh, I love this. It's like, that is not, if you love it, that's great, but that's not what he wanted. He made them off-putting on purpose.
Yeah, totally.
So moving on to the next damning and torturous tidbit of tantalizing terror, we have a floor tile.
Ooh, good alliteration.
Thank you. I got through it first
It
time.
was really good. Well done. Can you say it again, though? Because I interrupted you in the middle of the sentence, and now everyone's forgotten the context of what you're about to finish.
So moving on to the next damning and torturous tidbit of tantalizing terror, we have a floor tile.
Nice.
This isn't just any floor tile. Oh, no! This is a very special floor tile, known to many as the AUAG tile. And there's a floor tile in the airport in front of the murals, no less, that says AUAG, or OG, I guess.
Aug. Aug. The desolation of Smaug. Okay, sorry.
Smaug. Tolkien, love it.
Whose letters are written on what looks a bit like a mining cart full of cargo. So the common explanation is that this is a tile to commemorate those that built the city on the back of the gold and silver rush.
That makes sense to me.
That makes sense. Move on. Next point. Cool. That makes 100% sense.
Or it's a sign that minecart goes underneath the airport. And you know what's actually in the space of those 5-story buildings that got buried? A motherfucking dragon.
Ooh, Fort Knox with Smaug.
And that's why the floors are so hot all the time. It's the fire breathing.
That checks out.
Are
that
the
checks
floors
out.
hot? Is that something? Is that...
No, I just added that.
I don't know, Matthew. I'm not a scientist.
So, of course, AU and AG are the chemical, the element symbols for gold and silver. But there are those that think that this little car might be carrying something slightly more sinister than sweaty rocks. Because they are the...
Do rocks sweat?
Well, I thought sweaty after the work that's got them out of the ground.
Got it. So the people were sweaty and then they got their sweat on the rocks. Okay, got it. Move on.
They're sweating all over those rocks.
Oh, just lousy with sweaty rocks. That's a weird sentence. Let's move on.
Because there are those that believe that AUAG actually refers to something else. As we've said in those murals, it looks as though the world may end. But how? Well, maybe something known as hepatitis.
Ooh.
What?
Not just any hepatitis, a strain known as the Australian Antigen, or AUAG for short.
Solved.
These are those that believe that the apocalypse is coming, and it's coming via mass chemical attack on the world, looking to reduce the Earth's population back down to 2 billion. And it's this weaponized AUAG hepatitis that's going to do it. It's this plaque in Denver Airport is there for everyone, rubbing it in the faces of the millions that pass by it every year. Those bastards!
How dare they?
You know, a perfect way for them to spread that chemical warfare inside the metal tubes we're all trapped in when we get on an airplane and fly across the country.
Chemtrails as well. But
true.
yes.
Yep.
There are also some that say the person who discovered the Australian antigen is also a major donor to the airport.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
Pretty big coincidence, though, right?
That is a weird coincidence,
I
yes.
mean,
The problem, of course, I have to say here is that not only is AUAG not the abbreviation for the Australian antigen, it's HBsAg.
You know,
minor discrepancy there.
But Baruch Samuel Bloomberg, the scientist who found the disease, has no provable connection to the airport whatsoever.
Wait, so it's just a lie?
In fact, he won the Nobel Prize for Medicine for both discovering and creating a vaccine for the Australian antigen, or as you might know it, hepatitis B.
Does this all connect to the hepatitis B vaccinations I had to get in school? And it did.
Probably.
It did all come back to that.
If you are going to create a mass chemical attack on the entire world to try and reduce the population down to 2 billion, killing 5 billion people, try not to use a disease that has a vaccine.
that you also discovered.
And then try and say...
Like, at least make someone
No,
else.
that's how you keep them off the trail, Nick. It's like, well, it couldn't have been me who released this out into the world. I made the vaccine. Or you say, you know what? I've just always wanted to feel needed in my life, and I've never quite had that fulfilled. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make everyone sick, but then I'm going to be the only one with the cure, and they're all going to have to come to me.
And everyone's going to have to do whatever I want them to do before I give it to them.
That's like the plot for V for Vendetta.
There you go.
Like, literally.
And that there's no conspiracy in that movie.
All real, baby.
The biggest conspiracy about V for Vendetta is that V is actually Agent Smith from The Matrix. That's pretty great.
That is accurate. That's a good fake conspiracy.
But it's the same actor. But yeah, so...
Someone in the comments for the video we were watching about this, I thought had a really fun take on this. It's like AUAG, it's like gold and silver. It just says Denver because it's golden and silver, Denver. Boom, nailed it.
Golden silver. Oh.
Denver. And they're like, no, it's named after this place. He's like, yeah, I know. Whatever. I'm here.
Aw. Keep going, Matthew. We're just sad now.
But while that may be a dead end, also, I mean, I suppose they could just not give anyone the cure. But seriously, I don't buy into the AUAG plot. While that may be a dead end, there is also the case of the black sun drawing and the DxM guy. The black sun drawing is an unusual decoration in the airport, and you may just miss it. But you know who wouldn't miss it? The Nazis.
Remember the airport of Denver, the AUAG plot.
Yep.
It is believed by some that the black sun drawing is a depiction of the sun with a black disc proceeding to eclipse it. This is a symbol that some say is important to the occult, as well as the mysterious DxM Guy inscription, which some believe is Navajo for the White Mountain, or perhaps Mount Blanc in France, the very location that the Knights of the Templar signed their Freemasonry charter.
Proof, hard proof, right
Boom,
there.
nailed it. End of podcast.
Next, we move on to something that I think does actually have slightly more going for it. And that's the dedication capstone for the Denver International Airport.
Yeah.
This capstone marker is in the Great Hall. Great Hall, by the way, being a phrase most notably used in reference to a Masonic lodge. But also, yeah, this is kind of a Great Hall. The marker seems to imply that the airport was commissioned by the New World Airport Commission. But according to everyone who has anything to say about Denver Airport, that's a problem, because the New World Airport Commission does not exist.
Doesn't exist.
Accurate.
And this is another nod to the New World Order, the global supergovernment that will take over once the hepatitis apocalypse has happened. Case closed!
Done. Mystery solved. Stamp. Death by monster stamp.
The plaque... Dunk.
We need a stamp.
The plaque is weird, for sure.
The plaque is weird. It's a weird plaque.
It's got a Masonic compass on it. It lists 2 Grand Freemason lodges, and it was presented on March 19th, 1994. And what do you get if you add all those numbers up? 33. The most Masonic number out there.
Does that have anything to do with it being how old Jesus was when he was crucified, or is that just coincidence?
No, it has everything to do with that.
Oh, I don't know anything about Masons. Not really.
Well, I only know what I know from the meetings. No,
It is interesting. Like the other stuff, you can kind of be like, oh, this is just weird interpretation. But this plaque has a legitimate, like, Mason's logo stamped into it.
Oh, for sure.
it's got the Mason set and compass on there. It's interesting, but can you imagine me at the Masons?
It'd be great. I would kill for you to go.
Hey, what's under the robe?
They're like, stop it, Brother Matthew.
And some believe that the braille, that the plaque above the plaque, has already. Sorry, this is.
You doing okay there? You hanging in there?
Wait until you hear the end of this sentence. It is believed that the braille that the plaque above the already Masonic capstone plaque is itself a keypad to get to the underground base Scooby fucking Doo style. Or it might actually be the control panel
What?
once more hiding in plain sight that will trigger the genocide.
So, but what happens when a blind person tries to just read the plaque?
You better hope they don't.
That's like that. That's the dumbest. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, what happens? Like that's so ridiculous.
Because also underneath there's a time capsule.
Oh, okay. This bit made me mad in the documentary thing, where it was like acted like it was so suspicious that the thing is like, open this time capsule, the people of Colorado in the year 2094, 100 years later. And I'm like, yeah, that's how time capsules work. That's just what you do with the time capsule. You open it up 100 years later. That's the whole deal.
Or is it a countdown to doomsday? No, it isn't.
Or my thought was, or they might have mentioned this, but like, what if that's full of that crazy, like, what if it's a sealed time capsule, obviously.
Fucking lousy with hepatitis.
Yeah, exactly. And it just opens up, and that's when the hepatitis gets released. So they're just like waiting 100 years. They're like, they don't even know it's down there. And then while over the 100 years, they're then destroying all the vaccines. So by the time it comes, it just gets released right in people's faces.
Is this just the plot of the next Wonder Woman movie?
Probably. I'd watch it. It's probably pretty good.
Yep.
If that wasn't enough, there are these animatronic gargoyles sitting in suitcases.
Wait, they're animatronic? I thought they were just statues.
No, that many believe aren't simply a fun little Disney ripoff for kids. Oh no. They are hidden in plain sight reminders that the reptilian overlords are soon going to be in control once more. I shit you not.
Yeah.
That's a sign that that lizard people are going to take over.
And to put the final nail in the coffin of all of us, because we're all fucking dead at this point.
We're all 100% on board.
Apparently so.
The runways. Yes, they do look a bit like a swastika.
They do. That is accurate.
They do. That is real.
But that's also actually a really good design if you have 4 runways.
Do you think when they were doing it, they were like, oh, this kind of looks like a swastika, though? And people are like, no one's going to be looking at it from above. It's totally fine. Like, no one's going to notice. It's the most efficient thing. Just do it. And they're like, are you sure? And they're like, no one will notice.
What happened was the first person got into the control. He said, okay, Mr. Airport owner, this is the control tower. It's very good. Oh, fuck. So about the anyone else gonna notice this? Anyone else? We're just ignoring this.
Yep.
The biggest swastika ever designed. No one.
We needed straight paths for the planes.
They're like, look, do you want airplanes to crash as they land? Or do you want your runways to look like a swastika? It is one or the other.
You have 2 options, and let's face it, they're both suck.
What about all the other airports? No, they suck. This is the biggest one in the country. The only way to make it work is to have it look like a swastika. I'm sorry.
There have also been some weird goings on up in those Rocky Mountains. In February 2007, one frosty afternoon, at least 14 planes were mysteriously damaged with cracked windshields, some of which were taking off and landing at the time, which has gone wildly unanswered. Official explanations say that it could have been caused by ice or debris, or perhaps some sort of power surge that affected the plane's electronically heated windshields.
I read that was high winds and some sand that had been put down on the runways.
Smashing aircraft windscreens.
I don't know.
Really heavy sand.
There have been reports also of electronic and magnetic vibrations in the area, causing sickness, headaches, and unease of the Denver locals.
EMF.
which some believe may have been the result of some type of massive underground test of sonic weapons. Sonic weapons that are, as we talked about in the Dyatlov Pass episode, were banned by international law and only ever used by one group of people. Who were they? Nazis!
Nazis, that's
I was
right.
like, the Lakers?
The Lakers!
Well, I mean, of course they have to be tested underground. They're not legal.
Yeah, that's just good testing.
Could that really be the people at Denver Airport creating bigger bunkers underground? Perhaps. Just maybe.
There probably is like a legit like little city down there. Like there was that one on the East Coast, and I can't remember exactly where it was, that was totally set up for like the president to live in if the apocalypse happened or like the nuclear bombs went off or whatever. And then like it's not functional anymore because now people know about it. But that is real. And like, why not have the new one be located under the Denver airport? Like, I believe that could happen.
I that's one thing, like with this, it's like I don't believe really any of it, but like there are a bunch of tunnels. Like people do know that there's a ton of tunnels down there. It's just an absolute a tonnage of tunnels.
A tonnage of tunnels.
I don't think the bunker holds like the New World Order, but then being like, yeah, let's make a bunker here. It also makes sense to have it at an airport because then like if you did need to fly people there, you could just fly people directly to the bunker. Like, yep. I don't really think that's if it is down there. I think there's a bunch of tunnels down there, but there's like a massive tunnel system underneath UCLA, and my brother's been in there before, and it's super weird and creepy. We should do an episode on it.
I just thought about a bunch of buildings that got built on top of Seattle. Fuck.
It's all the same hippie shit.
Yeah, you know?
The city was built on top of other buildings as Seattle.
Oh, man, first try you thought of that. Great.
Yeah, I did. Shut up.
Well, literally right near me, there is a massive, massive underground tunnel complex.
Yeah. It's like they exist all over this. They have reasons, and it's like it might just be for storage. It may have been originally for the trains. It's like that to me doesn't mean anything. There's probably a ton of places that have underground tunnel systems that we don't really know about, and they were built for probably a legitimate reason, and then they just are not used. Or like again, there's some of the comments for these videos. There's like, yeah, I used to work there. I've been in those tunnels. They just like stored like trucks and stuff down there, like. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably what they are.
That's what he would say because he's a Mason operative who comes onto these videos and leaves these comments to throw people off the scent.
I'm guaranteeing there are other ones, probably multiple of them around the country that we don't know about because, again, we can't know about them. That's the entire purpose. You know, it's like... I'm sure they're all over the place. One might be at Denver. Why not? It makes sense. But it's like it's to think that it's like this apocalyptic. Like they're waiting down there, and then they're gonna come out with hepatitis, even though we already cured it. But you know, whatever.
Or the government themselves were like, hey, people are kind of suspicious about this like underground thing. We don't want them to realize that it's the city that the president will live in once nuclear war happens. So we'll start spreading these other crazy sounding conspiracy theories so that people will also discount the idea of what's actually under here.
Obama was taken there in 2011 when Comet Ellerin came by.
Yeah.
It's true. Everyone, there's for a split second that everyone thought all life on Earth was going to end. So, you know, and Denver is a fantastic location. I'm kind of annoyed almost because Nick and Paula, you've just made all of my points that I've written down. But Denver is a fantastic location.
It is.
It's very, very high up in case of giant tsunamis or anything like that. It's culturally central, but it's not necessarily central. But if I was going to build something in America, I'd probably choose Denver.
Yeah.
Theory one is that it is a doomsday bunker of some kind, an underground safe house for the New World Order once they've enacted their genocide and taken over the whole planet. That there is and always has been an ulterior reason for the construct of this megastructure, and that is to use it as a headquarters deep underground for the new regime.
I have to say that if this is true, like, more power to the New World Order. Like, this is a massive undertaking to organize exactly, like, the planning required to make this happen. Like, they probably should be running the world.
Yeah.
It's the most effective government I've ever heard of.
But also, fuck the New World Order, because, like, what a dumb plan. Like, we're going to, like, nuke the entire planet.
They get shit done, Nick!
No, we're going to nuke the entire planet and then live underground? That sounds like it sucks. What a shitty existence. Like, you can't enjoy nature or, like, the world anymore. Like, that's a dumb plan. I'm sorry. That's a horrible, stupid-ass plan.
That's why they've installed holodecks, Nick.
I'm sorry. That's such a crappy plan. Let's just nuke the entire world, live underground. If they were like, let's nuke the entire world and, like, move to fucking Mars, I'm more down with that, because then, like, at least you have exploration. But being like, let's just go underground like a bunch of moles. I'm like, that means you suck. Like, you're using all your money and influence for this? You fuck you, New World Order. Come at me.
What do you have against moles, Nick? That is really offensive to moles. And I think you owe them an apology.
Sorry, moles.
When we eventually do our episode on the inner Earth, Nick, you'll be eating these words.
Oh, is that right? I can't wait.
Theory 2 is a very similar but way darker theory, and that's that these underground structures, while being built by a secret government, they're not for use as a headquarters, but as one of the many concentration camps that's going to be used to filter and kill millions. And the elaborate tunnels and buildings are in reality a giant prison to funnel us through like ants to our death.
Yeah, that one's really dark.
Oh, goodness.
And I don't get it. I don't get why. Again, why? But it's very dark.
Yes, it's incredibly dark. And the final theory, moving on to something that's slightly more pleasant, is that, yeah, I think there probably is a bunker under Denver Airport, because that's where I would build one.
Again, we talked about it's like there's probably multiple all around the country.
I mean, easy access to marijuana.
Yeah. You can say hi the whole time.
Beautiful scenery.
Yeah. Good skiing.
Denver has a pretty good little local art scene.
Matthew, there's a call for you. Oh, Mr. President, that's very interesting. It's funny that you'd call me. I'm British, but whatever.
Whatever.
The world's ending, you say? There is a bunker underneath there. All the amenities? I've got one question, though, for you, Mr. President. Can I get high in there?
Son, you can get a mile high.
Mr. President, I don't mean that kind of high. But
I like your Obama. This is great.
I was like, this is just my general president voice, and it's fucked that I'm thinking of it very male. And I hope maybe, not to get political, but maybe soon I'll get to think about it differently.
And the punchline to my joke.
How upset do you get?
Start from the beginning.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I ruin your life? You know, I'll include Nick in this. How much do we ruin your life after you've spent all this time crafting these jokes for your script, and then we swoop in with our own jokes and kind of ruin yours? Because, as we know, comedy is timing.
You've done that joke twice, Paula, and I appreciate it.
I got to do it a third time, because comedy is actually also things that come in 3.
Sometimes I do hate you, but it's fine. The biggest thing that I would say quells the Denver Airport conspiracy is, I've worked on building sites, right? I tell you now, there is no way on earth you would be able to keep that many people quiet about building a giant underground New World lizard cage.
True.
Here's the question. Did
apocalypse.
any of them come back from the work site?
I mean, the amount of straws that are being grasped onto for everything I've seen about the Denver Airport conspiracy suggests, yes, they all came home and they're all fine.
That's my thing with so many of these conspiracies. It's like, one, there would have to be so many people in on it.
Yes.
For like say flat Earth. It's like there would have to be so many scientists and governments in on the flat Earth thing to make it a thing. And then usually it's also like, why would they be lying about this? Like what's the thing? And on top of that, it's like a lot of these things like, oh, there's this huge underground thing and da-da-da-da. It's like, okay, but like there'd be no way to keep all of these people quiet unless you killed them all. Like there'd be no way at all. It's ridiculous.
And then you have to kill everyone that did the killing. You can't do it without getting the military involved in some way.
Yes, and that's the thing. There's no, especially in today's like information age where everyone can share everything online. It's like there's no way you can keep everyone quiet.
I really was interested in the Denver Airport conspiracy. And it's like the Shakespeare episode we just did. I fully believe that Edward de Vere wrote those plays, right? Mm-hmm. Most of them. And I do think that there probably is a massive bunker underneath Denver Airport. But do I think there's a conspiracy there? No, I just don't. Then the more you look into it, because you can watch loads of videos and stuff as well, and they all have exactly the same information on, and much of the information that we use here, right? And if you just do a tiny, and I guess, yes, and it's rich coming from me, they say if you just do a bit of research outside of those things, you can find out that it doesn't make sense. But, if you just go outside of just watching the strict people who have an agenda to sell you that the Denver airport has a conspiracy, right? If you can kind of just break out of that a bit and just do a tiny bit of your own research about it, it falls apart so quickly.
I think it's just a weird place.
Just airports are weird.
That's true. Also, something I really appreciate is the Denver Airport website itself, has a page dedicated to all these theories and kind of pokes fun at them. And I think it's really fun and clever. They have little ads, when you're doing construction in the airport and you see a poster at LAX for the last million years. It's been LAX is happening.
Yeah.
And they're telling you what's coming next. And they have Denver Airport has ones like that, except it's what are we building here? A new terminal. B, a hiding place for the lizard people. 3, or C.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clever. And I really appreciate them just being all right, let's lean into it. Why not?
And I get it, right? There's a lot of people who are going to say that's just them doing more hidden in plain sight. That's
of
more
course,
rubbing
right.
their nose in. That's how they get off. They love showing people exactly what they're doing just before they do it. I just think that the Denver Airport conspiracy is no conspiracy at all, and that perhaps there is a bunker underneath there, probably for military use. Maybe it does connect to Cheyenne Mountain. That would certainly make sense. I mean, I don't know.
Another mystery solved. Stamp by the Death by Monsters crew.
Boom. Put in the mail.
I want to believe. I just could not. The more I read, the more I looked into this, the less and less I started, I believe.
And look, if you can't convince Matthew, I don't know who you're going to convince.
Yeah, right, though.
That sounded like it was wrapped in something that sounded like a compliment.
I don't know if I'd say it was a compliment, but I didn't mean it as an insult.
Mm-hmm.
It was just more like a statement of fact.
So, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Death by a Monster. Oh, no, I normally get one of you to do the outro, so I'll
You already started, so you might as well keep going.
Yeah, you do it.
So,
hey, thank you so much for... No, I'm kidding.
So, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Death by Monsters. We always seem to be asking you to share this podcast with a friend so we can grow it. I will ask you that once more, but I would also like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who's already done that, because we are seeing some growth. So,
That's
thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Really.
Yes.
We are on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we are on Instagram. You can email us your home strange stories to deathbymonsterspodcast@gmail.com. If you were wrapped in some kind of ectoplasmic film and you woke up like that and you're thinking, what the hell happened?
That's just cool.
We want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Also, if you have some sort of connection with the corporate entities of Coors or Honda, we would love to have you get in touch with them on our behalf about becoming an official sponsor as opposed to an unofficial sponsor.
I thought you were going to say, if you know anyone who worked at Denver Airport.
I thought that too.
Sure, that would also be fine, but I was thinking about financial stability for the podcast.
Also, I never want to talk about Denver Airport ever again.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if now every episode we were like, this episode of Death by Monsters is brought to you by the Denver Airport. I had to fly the other day, and I had to choose where I was going to have my layover, and I thought... Denver Airport, because
Obviously.
I love looking at the art. Don't you, Nick? Don't you love looking at the art in the Denver Airport?
I like the art. It's great. And I always listen to the artists when they say what their art's about. It's great.
And Denver Airport does have 2 spas. I know that because I was writing a joke about the Denver Airport amenities before I realised that I'd been on the Denver Airport website for about 25 minutes. If we could actually say, hello, this is Death by Monsters, sponsored by Coors. No, actually, that would be...
That'd be very, very fun.
We will take a picture of us drinking a Coors.
I mean, I'll be holding a Coors. Yes.
So.
Also, if you have a body, put some merch on it. Boom. I said it.
If you're non-corporeal, incorporeal, that's cool. You're off the
Get a clock so you can look at it. Death Monster clocks. Available now.
Well, if you don't want to drink a Coors, Nick, because you don't drink, you could always drink a hot beverage out of a Death by Monsters mug, couldn't you?
That's right, baby. I can drink some hot Coors.
Also, I'm legit going to be purchasing some merch for myself, and
Yes.
then I will be flaunting it. So, gonna get on that.
I want some Death by Monsters merch. Oh, yeah.
Most importantly, thank you everybody so much for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Sure will. Bye, everyone.
Peace!
Nailed it.
Nailed it. First try.